Hey, I'm back to talk about the victim impact statements. To do a quick recap, May 31st, Danny Masterson got convicted of 2 of the 3 counts of forcible rape on the Jane Does, and each individual sentence is 15 to life. Combined, it's 30 to life. Well, he got convicted of life in prison with possibility of parole in 30 years. That's our quick recap. Now, forgive me if I look down at my notes, but I had to write some for this because it was a lot. And again, Judge Almeida was amazing. Very supportive. Gave what leeway she could, where she could, and was strict where she needed to be. I'm going to start with Jane Doe 3 and then backtrack to Jane Doe 1. Because, honestly, Jane Doe 1's statement was probably the most impactful out of all of them. Jane Doe 3, she described a relationship with Danny that was filled with physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse. From the initial attack, she was being gaslighted. She was essentially she was gaslighted by her friends, by Danny, and made to try dating him again or try going out with him again. And it led to her moving in with him after 2 weeks. After she moved in with him, she basically lost everything. She lost her family. She lost her friends. She lost her job. If I recall, she was a fairly successful model before she got with Danny, and he made her quit her job, or Scientology did, one of the two. I'm not quoting verbatim on that one, but he would ask her about her most traumatic events and then torment her by reenacting them constantly. And it got to a point where she had a panic attack so bad she got hospitalized, and she was forced onto psychiatric medication even after she said no, because she was a Scientologist at the time. They forced her to take it, and it helped. And afterwards, after she got therapy and things of that nature, she found out that she has PTSD, severe anxiety, and panic disorder, which is to be expected. It really is. The next one was Jane Doe 2. She said basically how everything had been different after the conviction, where she lived and everything. Basically where she lived before the conviction, she couldn't leave her house without feeling like she was going to be tormented by Danny or his friends. And ever since the conviction on May 31st, everything has completely died down, and she's been able to feel like she can breathe again, feeling levity. She describes the anger that she found discovering there was more than one victim. The anger that gave her the power to actually come forward and do what she could. Because for 7 years, Scientology terrorized her, trying to silence her. And luckily, she did not waver. She suffers from PTSD, panic attacks, and debilitating depression. Again, it's not surprising with something of this nature. Anything that consists of any sort of abuse is going to have these sort of lingering effects, whether it be SA, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. All of these side effects are very common. Well, after effects, I guess you can call it. She also, poor woman, sweet as can be, she told Danny that she doesn't wish that he get assaulted in prison. She feels sorry for him, and she said she hopes he can learn his lesson and that she forgives him. And to me, that's very big of her. I honestly don't know if I'd have that much strength after everything. Lastly, we're going to go over Jane Doe 1. She started talking about how she had been forced to disconnect from her mother, basically. She speaks of how her mother sent countless letters to multiple members of Scientology, including all the way to the top to David Miscavige himself, demanding for justice. But, of course, with Scientology and Danny being a celebrity, there was no justice. She spoke of how her and Danny knew each other through family, friends. They shared mutual acquaintances. So there were cookouts and things like that, and they ran across each other all the time, apparently. She also described the rape, about losing clothing items, feeling very embarrassed about losing said items. She talked about how she went to Luke Watson afterwards, and how instead of helping her, he basically demanded her to go to the Celebrity Center and talk to, I guess, his mother? I don't quite recall exactly. But basically to report it at the Celebrity Center because Danny had already gone down there. But she did not go to the Celebrity Center to report it. She spoke of a family trip to Florida where for 9 hours on the way there, I believe it was on the way there, she smelled like vomit. She was hurting like hell because of how bad she was assaulted. And she had to basically pretend to be okay. She had to borrow clothes because she had none of her own to bring. She also mentioned after the trip, when she came back, she reported it to Julian Schwartz. Like I said before, he's going to be a topic I'm hoping to touch on a little bit further down the line. She explained how he made her life hell, trying to silence her. How she was not allowed to write or say the word rape at all. How she learned about Lily, and how she reported it to the LAPD, or at least made an attempt to, and then was forced by Danny and Scientology officials to sit down and talk about it. So she sat down across from Danny. He apologized, and she was basically forced to sign an NDA. Danny had swore up and down he would never do it to anyone again, that he was so sorry, and he felt bad, he felt remorse, and it seemed like almost immediately after, I could be wrong about the timeline, but shortly thereafter, she found him outside with Luke Watson, joking and carrying on and mocking her. She explained how Danny arranged for her daughter, who was 9 years old at the time, to be essentially tormented by her classmates about the sexual assault, to the extent that her daughter came home to her one day and asked her mother what rape is. No mother should have to go through that by any means. Not a single one. And she talks about how Danny had Martin Singer basically threaten her that if she broke the NDA, that she would not like what her daughter would see come out. Again, it's very cold and very hurtful and very hateful, and it's only something a monster would do, or a monster would have someone else do. She spoke of how Danny's friends intimidated her in court, and including the gentleman who assaulted her as a teenager from South Africa. If I'm correct, his name is Graham. And she described losing everything after reporting it, getting kicked out of the church, basically she lost her family, lost her friends that were all in the church. She had no choice because she broke the rule of going to the authorities. And yes, she did go back to the authorities, as we see now. She described the darkest places that she was in, where she had to sleep with a nightlight at points because she couldn't sleep in the dark. She would hide in the closet for hours on end, and her husband would have to get her out. About how there were points where she just considered ending it. And anyone who has been in a similar situation has probably been in a similar place mentally. And you can't blame her. But she's still here now, and that's what matters. She also mentioned what got her back into wanting to fight this, which was a tweet that Chrissy Bixler released, who's one of the other Jane Does. I believe she's Jane Doe 3. I could be wrong. But explained how that tweet basically inspired her. It gave her the will to live, gave her the will to fight, and gave her the will to keep going and to seek justice and be heard. Because that is what these women need more than anything, is to be heard. And I'm hoping with all this and with everything else that other victims will come forward, whether it be more of Danny's victims or more victims from some other messed up stuff that Julian Schwartz swept under the rug. It's something that we really need, is to get justice for these women and men, if there are men that have been assaulted as well. I don't know. I don't judge. But I truly believe that Danny is where he belongs now. And he needs to stay there forever. He does not deserve a chance to get out. And everything is going to hit him hard, if it hasn't already, when he gets to actual prison instead of county. Because there he's not going to be able to be just locked up in medical long term. He's going to have to go out and see people and interact with people and those people won't like him. And when he realizes that there are people who will essentially punish him for what he's done, and that karma's going to hit him hard, maybe then he will understand what seeking remorse and forgiveness actually is. Because until he hits that rock bottom, I don't think he's going to seek it. Because he likes knowing that he hurt these women. I don't know what mentally is wrong with him. I don't know how he was hurt in the past. I don't know what would make someone want to do this. But I know it does take a very sick individual to make someone want to do this. And I know the fact that Scientology was covering it up and essentially giving him a God complex did not help matters any. It really didn't. But my next video is probably going to be on the Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis character letters and the fallout from that. And then I will see where we can go from there. I'm hoping I got a few more letters I can go through as well. But y'all have a great rest of your day. And take care. Bye.